I was stuck. I needed a pick-me-up, so I decided to call my uncle. My uncle is a jazz guitar player. He's been a jazz guitar player his whole life. I called him, I said, Uncle Mark, I'm gonna be a music major. And he said, Jack, don't do it. Don't do that. He said, you're a smart kid. You can do whatever you want in life, anything you want. Just don't do music. Do anything else. He said, it's crowded at the bottom. I've been spending a lot of time over the last week going through the lookbook that the Creator Camp folks sent over. I don't know if you guys have seen Marina's videos and these miniatures, but the amount of detail and energy that goes into these miniatures and the emotion that she conveys through freaking set design. You can make people feel something through set design, and she's doing that. The videos from We Love You, these like wonderful like little nuggets of joy and inspiration and philosophy in like 30 seconds, and then you just get your mind blown and can't wait to start your day. Adam Borrow's adventures and his spirit, just unhinged joy for the world. You know, prepping for this, I honestly felt like there was nothing I could say to you guys that you don't already know and you're not already doing, is what it felt like. And so I decided to call the talk Advice You Don't Need, because you're already doing it. This is my first camera. I probably got a camera when I was like 11 or 12, and I shot hundreds of hours on tape growing up, and it was everything from like me doing blue screen experiments like in my bedroom to like videos for Spanish class. And then my buddy taught me that if you double clicked the record button on the back of one of these cameras, you could get the camera to record for like 1/6 of a second. And so like if you moved a little bit of snake clay, you could get the snake to slide across the banister. And I started making little miniature clay figures, and one of my greatest films of all time was called Mr. Barfo, and you know, he barfed a lot, which is easy to do with stop motion animation. But I made all kinds of animations, all kinds of characters, and then I got these films. Does anybody know these films? Does anybody know the Wall Street films? Man, these films. When I got these films, I probably was like 12 or 13. I used to watch them frame by frame. Like I would spend all Saturday like clicking through one frame at a time. Like it would take me like 6 or 8 hours to get through the movie. And you could see like when the character accelerated into motion and when the character decelerated, and like how much to move an arm to get it to look like it was waving. And it wasn't just the animation, but like, as many of you know, to make stop motion, you have to plan so much. So I learned a ton about like character design and 3-act structure and lighting and stories, and it wasn't just animation. Like this was, watching these movies was like a masterclass in filmmaking. And I was like getting obsessed with it. I was like literally building replicas of Wallace and Gromit and like trying to get them to move the same way. And like, I remember the first night that I got a character to speak. I was probably like 12 or 13, and I had him say, "Watch out!" And that probably took like 3 hours to shoot, you know, because you're like double clicking, moving the mouth a little bit, resetting the teeth, double clicking. And so when I rolled back the tape and I saw the footage, I'm sure many of you have had this experience. I was like running around my kitchen like a fucking crazy person. Like I was so excited that I got this character to speak. I was like, I'm gonna be an animator in my life. Like I've done it. I've made the greatest like thing. I'm gonna be a full-time professional animation person. And then I like used that energy and immediately ran back and like, you know, animated a piano falling on his head because like he was saying, "Watch out." And then like I really started like studying like lip sync and characters and mouths, and I learned like e, ah, o, u, you know, and you could like alternate between these frames to like get somebody to speak, and like I ended up like spending hours and hours on this stuff. And then I sort of got a little bit older and started like spending more time on these movies, and not just like little 4-second clips, but like movies. This was a film that I made called North Pole Plantation, which was like a spoof on like a Christopher Guest like mockumentary style thing, where like Santa was like a bad guy and he was like a bad boss. And you know, it involved like interviewing this elf, and then you know, we interviewed the reindeer. You know, nobody was a fan of Santa. You know, he turned out to be kind of a nightmare. He had a cattle prod. I made another film called Black Hat White. Man, this film took me 4 years. It was 2.5 minutes, and my parents gave me a grant, and we made a replica of a whole street, like start to finish. Like we put mortar on a piece of plywood, and then we like made every house, every brick, every yard, every tree, the statues, like dog characters. I would like spend my weekends at this store called Dollhouses, Trains, and More as a 14-year-old boy. My friends gave me so much shit about that. There also like wasn't like a lot of consumer gear. So like I wanted to get a dolly shot because I wanted to show off the set that we built, but you couldn't get a consumer dolly. Or if you could, like I didn't know where to get one. So like I went to Home Depot and I got like metal piping and I built like a little car and I put the camera on the car and I like would move it a millimeter at a time and I like got the camera to like zoom across the street so you got like a little dolly shot. And guys, like all this was like 2000 to 2002. It's like, it feels like another universe. YouTube did not exist. The idea of publishing media to the internet, not a thing. The like was not invented. There was no such thing as the like. Facebook wouldn't invent that for like years. People weren't using the word content, and they weren't using the word content creator. Like those people, they made art, and we called them artists. You know, they made like music and you know movies. And yeah, you know, so like my things that I was making, nobody was seeing those things. Nobody was seeing them, and nobody was gonna see them. But that was like, it didn't matter at all to me because it wasn't why I was making them. Like I was making movies because I loved the way a two-shot looked. I loved the different ways you could capture two people on one screen to tell a different story about their relationship. I loved the over-the-shoulder shot. It had such a cinematic quality to it. It could create this kind of mood between the characters. I loved a silhouette shot. I loved the way it looked. I loved how it gave the scene a sense of obscurity. I loved how lighting could make something feel like menacing and scary. I loved a long lens making something feel distant but like expansive and huge and somehow like private and like you're lucky to be looking at it. I loved how magic hour looked on my camera. It made the sky look explosive, and I loved the way it read on the sensor. And this is a really good time to introduce somebody who I think is here, or at least they were. Nope, they're here. Can we give it up for Natalie Lynn? When I see Natalie's work, I don't see someone who's trying to get something from it. I don't see someone who's trying to get anything at all. I don't see someone who's trying to sell me something. One of Natalie's earliest videos is called I Like Cameras. And you can tell. You can tell when you're looking at work for someone who just loves to make things. You can tell when someone is obsessed with the camera, obsessed with telling stories, obsessed with communicating an idea through color correction and sound and imagery. You can tell that Natalie is passionate about this. And by the way, I don't mean passionate like Natalie likes it. I mean passionate like passion. And the Latin root of the word passion is passio, which means to suffer. Like, you can tell when you see a shot like this and you peel back the detail, you know somebody suffered for it. 6 hours of staring at your computer and tweaking color correction and lining up frames and compositing multiple layers and getting the sound to hit at just the right moment to light up the certain feeling. Like, don't get me wrong, that shit is really fun, but it's hard fun. And I know Natalie already knows that it's worth it, but I want us right now to let her know that we think it's worth it too. So as loud as you can, let's make some noise for Natalie. We see what goes into your work, Natalie. We respect the shit out of you. There's an amazing creator I love named Adam Westbrook. He made a video essay about Van Gogh. It's called Painting in the Dark.
Whatever it is that you do, imagine the result of your hard work only ever being seen by a single person and then forgotten.
Van Gogh painted for 9 years without showing anyone his paintings except his brother. And his brother didn't even like his work very much. He didn't sell any paintings until he was 36. And no one else even saw his paintings for almost a decade. But he painted thousands of works, thousands, while his teeth were falling out, while he was sick, while he was starving, because for him, painting was autotelic. Autotelic is a word used to describe an activity that someone does for the intrinsic joy of doing the activity, rather than for some expected reward. Autotelic means the activity itself is the reward. When you find something like that in life, it is such a gift. Very few people are lucky enough to find anything close to autotelic. They go through life disengaged and yearning for meaning. If you are one of the rare, lucky people who has found something that you can't help but do, you have won the lottery in life. You have a life of meaning and intent and commitment and significance ahead of you. By the time I got to college, I was making a ton of films and music. I was filming everything. I brought my camera with me everywhere. Parties in college and vacations with my parents and hanging with friends and just shooting and learning to use this thing. Even when I got my wisdom teeth out and I couldn't actually hold the camera, I asked my dad to film it. And he brought the camera into the recovery room while I was waking up, and I was high as a kite coming down off anesthesia. And I had packing in my mouth, and I was having the trip of a lifetime. And I just kept saying, I am Conte. I am conscious. And I was just like repeating that I was conscious because I felt my brain waking up. And then when I got home, I needed to keep ice on my cheeks to reduce the swelling, but I also really wanted to play piano, so I duct taped a bag of peas and ice to my cheeks and just played the piano for 3 days while I recovered. And when I got back to school, I started playing shows because there was a coffee shop on campus, and this was my first time I'd ever performed my music for people, and something just lit up for me. I had a little keyboard set up in my dorm room, and I would write and practice my songs there. Sometimes I'd record them on a new piece of software that just come out for a digital recording called Pro Tools. And I would live loop beatboxing and play piano and sing, and I was just getting addicted to writing and performing songs. That's when I decided that I had to switch my major. I felt like I had to do music. I was just going too deep on it, and I just wanted to do it. It was a exciting choice for me. And it was also, I was really nervous about it. And I remember where I was. There was a concrete slab between these two dorms, between my dorm and another one. And I was like sitting on the floor of the concrete slab. I had my head in my hands, and I was just like, I was like despondent, and I was thinking about, I was just thinking about like what it meant for me. I'm ashamed to say this, but I was like resigning myself to a life of poverty is what I was doing. I felt like I was gonna be poor my whole life. I was thinking about not being able to take care of my family, not being able to send my kids to school. I was stuck, and I needed a pick-me-up, so I decided to call my uncle. My uncle is a jazz guitar player. He's been a jazz guitar player his whole life. I called him, I said, Uncle Mark, I'm gonna be a music major. And he said, Jack, don't do it. Don't do that. He said, you're a smart kid. You can do whatever you want in life, anything you want. Just don't do music. Do anything else. He said, it's crowded at the bottom. I ended up switching my major anyway. I switched to music. I also applied to grad school because I wanted to hedge against that in case I got sick of my stupid fucking decisions and needed to go do something real. And so I got into grad school while I was being a music major. And it was a hard 2 years. When I finally finished college, I took this road trip where I drove across the country from Colorado to San Francisco, and I filmed everything because that's what I was doing. And eventually, it became very, very clear to me that I was not going to go to grad school. I couldn't do it. I wanted to give music a shot, and I had to do it right now. I did not want to wait. I did not want to go to grad school. I had to try it. So this is like a family dinner, and we had this table in our kitchen. I was so nervous about telling them, and so I told them the day before. I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to meet you guys at this table, 3 p.m. tomorrow. I'd never called a meeting before with my parents, so they were weirded out by that, and they kept asking me what it's about. I was like, no, I'll tell you tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the table. Because I wanted to let them know that it was a deliberate decision, and there was forethought to it, and it wasn't just an on the, at a whim sort of thing. I was right about to enter my spiel, and my mom goes, Jack, you can tell me anything you want in the whole world. We're here. You tell us whatever you want to tell us. as long as you tell us you're still going to grad school. That's how she kicked off the meeting. I was like, Mom, I'm not going to grad school. I was like, right into it. My dad was like, Jack, I've heard you sing. And then he paused. And he was like, you're no Mel Torme. Now, for those of you who are not 60, Mel Torme is like a jazz crooner from the 40s and 50s. Not super my cup of tea, but, you know, for somebody who was like already self-conscious about their voice, you know, stung a little bit. I did it anyway. Now's a good time to introduce another person who is here. Give it up for Max. Max made an amazing video called I'm Scared to Take a Different Path in Life. I love how open Max is to letting people see who he is. But mostly I love that Max has the guts to take a different path in life. His values shine through not only in his work, but in his choices. Values always sound great from a distance. Be true to yourself, be honest, be compassionate. But these values are obvious. These values are almost easy. What's hard is the trade-offs. It's your approach when your values come into conflict with one another. What about when you have a choice between compassion or honesty? Between caring for someone you love or being true to yourself? Are you willing to cause people you love pain to be true to yourself? Are you willing to disappoint people you love to follow your intuition? Neither choice is right or wrong, and I'm not just saying that. One is really not better than the other. They're just different paths in life. So our real values are not chosen or spoken. They are revealed to us in those moments of choice by what we're willing to leave behind, by what we're willing to trade. These trade-offs become our stories, and the sum of these stories is who we are. Max, I, of course, don't know what trade-offs you had to make in order to walk down the path that you're on. And honestly, judging by your videos, your mom seems pretty awesome, actually, and seems like you guys have a really healthy relationship. Maybe it's completely different from the choices I had to make. But I imagine that there are still trade-offs, one way or another, and that they have been and continue to be hard. My folks were upset that I chose not to keep going to school, but they got over it. They loved me, and they supported me. Still, I felt guilty. I didn't have very much money. I was tutoring kids in math, trying to make ends meet. And soon after that, my parents split up, and my dad let me move back in with him. I was relieved that I had a place to live, but I also felt just so embarrassed. I felt like everyone around me was growing up, and I was recording songs in my childhood bedroom and DMing bands on MySpace and asking if I could open for them at local bars up and down the West Coast. I sent cold outreach to music venues to get booked, and then I got in my car because I couldn't afford to rent a van, and I drove up and down the West Coast of the United States, and I played the dankest local bars, and I sweated, and I sang my guts out, and I sweated, and I sang, and I sweated, and I sang, and I sweated, and I ate tacos out of the back of my car while my friends were getting promoted in high-paying jobs as investment bankers, and I did that for years. Tour after tour. And I'm using the word tour lightly here, like there weren't people at my shows. No one came. I had no fans. On a good night, there were a couple stragglers who wandered in off the street, but I was playing empty bars. I remember one night, the band that we had DM'd and asked to open for, who had agreed to do that show, didn't show up. So they weren't there and their fans didn't come. And so I played a show in a 500-person venue by myself to nobody. I mean, nobody. Like, the bartender was there. That's it. And then about halfway through my set, the fucking bartender left. And I was like alone. I had like a looping station, drum pads, 3 layers of keyboards. And like, it was funny, but also like, I was like, what am I doing with my life? My life. I felt scared. I felt like I'd made a mistake. I felt churn in my stomach. Like I felt like sick thinking about that. In 2007, someone sent me a link to this guy named David Choi singing with a guitar in front of his webcam on a new website called youtube.com.
3 little birds sat on my window.
His video had like 300,000 views or something like that, and I couldn't believe it. I immediately started focusing on youtube.com. That's what we called it, youtube.com. We called it that because there was no such thing as an iPhone or apps, so it was just a website, youtube.com. And I started uploading videos of myself playing and singing. Back then, there was no one else showing the at-home recording process, so I just filmed myself playing instruments and then layered them in the video with split screens so that people would see all the musical elements coming together to form a song. And it's funny because in 2024, this idea seems so obvious, but nobody was doing this back then. There was MTV, there were music videos, but there wasn't like an at-home video of a song by a normal person in their bedroom. It wasn't a fancy recording studio with millions of dollars of equipment. It was a room with an M-Box audio interface and a cheap version of a laptop recording software called Pro Tools LE and an old bed comforter hung up on the wall to dampen the sound, and broken cymbals that a fan sent me in the mail for free, but I was making real music. I was screaming my guts out and playing accordion and doing collabs with friends, and it started working. People started watching my videos and listening to my music for the first time in my life. It wasn't millions of people at first, but it was so much better than playing empty bars, so I decided to go all in on youtube.com. I started working on a crazy new music video. Oh man, this video took me like 3 months of my life, and like all of a sudden, all of this work that I had done on like video creation for like the whole first chapter of my life, like all of a sudden all that work started becoming like insanely relevant. These are like giant cotton balls, and I did these little paper tree cutouts, and I had a DVX 100, and I moved these lights over the clouds, and as I was moving those lights, I had a paper sun that set between the mountains. The video was about this guy who falls in love with this girl who's stuck in a painting, and then she comes out of the painting. And so I wanted her to look like she was like shedding her painting. So I made these like construction paper costumes to kind of make her look sort of two-dimensional. I rented a studio to do like rear projection work. I used Google Maps to make it look like we were like flying back to Earth. I was not good at compositing, but I just kind of wanted to try it. I like did this 4-hour time-lapse shot on the side of Mount Tamalpais. I experimented with using 2 DVX 100s, both filming the scene and then switching between those 2 cameras at like 3 to 4 frames per second. And you could create like a ton of like 3-dimensional depth between the 2 frames, and I just kept oscillating between those frames, so it was almost like the film was 3D. This was the first video that I made that got 1 million views. I couldn't believe it. It was like the best feeling in the world. I felt like I was finally like reaching people in my life. It was amazing. And then I did my first collab with my girlfriend, Natalie. We put up a video on my YouTube channel. It was a song that we created together, and it was pretty different than my music. It was way less screamy and insane, but it was way more active and fleshed out than her music. So we decided to create a new channel for our collabs, and we called this new YouTube channel Pomplamoose. And when we posted our first video, we got a response that I had never seen or felt before. Something seemed like it just clicked. It was just really exciting. Pomplamoose got this burst of new subscribers, and we started uploading more videos, and within a year we got 18,000 subscribers. And then in one video we announced that we were playing a show, and 40 people showed up to our show. Oh my God, guys, I cannot tell you what it's like to have 40 people at your show after years of playing empty bars. It was the most joyful thing. And then we got the idea that, oh my gosh, we have this fan base, like there's real people on the other side of the screen. And so we put all of our music on a USB thumb drive, and we told our fans we're gonna send you this thumb drive, and then we said we'd sign every single thumb drive, which was a huge mistake in retrospect. We ended up like signing hundreds of thumb drives and trying to figure out how to package them, and it was so much more packaging and work than we thought it was gonna be. We needed to employ my family to have a packing party. We had like garbage bags full of thumb drives, and my dad was losing his mind taking pictures. We booked a show at a laundromat where you could like go and do your laundry and eat some food and listen to some music, and then this laundromat cafe. We uploaded this video after we booked the show. It was the first video that Pomplamoose made that like really took off. And when we showed up to the show, there were like 150 or 200 people inside, and then another 150 or 200 people outside trying to get in who could not get in. There was like traffic driving around them. I was like, oh my God, we're gonna make this work. We've like figured it out. We like figured out how to make a living playing music. This other time, we uploaded a song, and then at the end of the song, we told folks that we were releasing this first album on iTunes. Ended up getting 10 million views or something like that. And that month that we uploaded that song, we sold
30,000 songs in like 1 month. And because Pomloose did not have like a record contract, we just did it independently. We had our own contract that we negotiated with iTunes, so we got 100% of the proceeds. So we got a bank account deposit of $22,000. Like, it was more money than I'd ever seen in one place in my whole life. And then we just started like making tons of money every month from song sales. And it was enough to move out of my childhood bedroom, and we bought a house off of MP3 sales. There was a dog kennel on the property that we converted into a recording studio. We had to refinish the whole thing. There was a lot of rat poop in there. It was gross. So we took it all out and made an awesome recording studio. Then Hyundai emailed us. You guys ever thought about being on TV?
Nope. We ended up doing this car commercial for them. It wasn't a brand deal, it was a car commercial. Brought Hyundais to our house in our garage, decorated our garage, and then they had like a full cruise. Like, outside there was like a gaffer's truck and trailers and shit, and like 18 people on set. But they were really good. We wanted to keep it like vibey when we were filming, so we asked everybody to just wait outside while Natalie and I filmed in the garage, and they were down with it, which I thought was amazing. We started, we toured, and hundreds of people started showing up to shows, and people started getting Pomplamoose tattoos, and people were coming with Pomplamoose t-shirts and artwork and posters and Pomplamoose cookies. We did more like cool brand deals and reinvested the earnings into our music videos. We started like experimenting with projection mapping. We like built foam core sets and then used Final Cut Pro to just like throw images on these pieces of foam core, and you could get like really cool geometric patterns. We started experimenting with costume design and like different shots, and we got a drone and we did full body projection mapping and made weird characters. This is actually Natalie lying upside down like this, and then we like glued eyeballs to her chin and put goggles on them. And those videos did really well, got millions of views, and people started showing up to our shows, and thousands of people started showing up, and Natalie was crowd surfing and I was crowd surfing. We felt like we were living our dream as musicians. It was this wonderful thing. We started meeting with like managers and labels. And a lot of them I think genuinely wanted to help, but it was strange. There was this attitude of like, that's not real music. What you guys are doing isn't real music. Like this YouTube thing, these YouTube videos, that's cute, but not the real deal. Like, you wanna do bedroom videos, or you wanna come with us and you wanna do the real thing? You wanna be a real artist. So what is real music? What is real art? This is a good time to introduce another person in the room. Josh Chuba. Give it up for Josh. There he is. Josh has an uncanny ability to cut to the core of something and make it compelling and plain and really convincing. I want to share some snippets of his reflections here. Josh, sorry to butcher your beautiful prose. How do you survive in a technological dystopia? Well, you start by taking control of your mind. You use the tools that were designed to imprison you psychologically, and you use them to free yourself, to lean into the things that you're interested in, and to answer the questions that bubble up to the surface of your consciousness. And if you look deep enough into your own subconscious, your brain will give you those questions that you can then use the internet to go and answer. And that would be something like a mental revolution, wouldn't it? Because if you take control of your mind, then suddenly you've freed yourself from all of the systems of mental control. Looking back 20 years now, I wish I'd spent less time letting the systems of mental control pressure me and more time asking myself, what do I want? What are my goals? Not the goals that the system wants me to want, but the goals underneath that. Instead, I spent so much time worrying about other people's definitions, trying to find the right way. What is real music? What a stupid question. What a waste of time to even think about that. Forget real music, forget real art. I don't want to make real art. I want to make what I want, whether it's real art or anything else. Technology changes, culture changes. The popular way 10 years ago, 20 years ago, might have nothing to do with the right way for me right now. My main ask for all of you is this: don't listen to me, don't listen to anyone. My story, my past is what worked for me. It's not what will come next. In 5 years, I'll be giving a different talk with different advice. I wish I had concerned myself less with other people and more with what I really wanted, what matters to me. What do I want? By 2012, I'd started going really deep on electronic music. I'd spent 2 years learning semi-modular synthesis. I had made this bass music EP. I wanted to make a video, craziest thing I'd ever made. I wanted to have these two elevators with an animatronic head and another robot coming out of these elevators and playing MIDI controllers. And I wanted to be in the middle playing electric guitar and jamming out with these robots. And so I just started building these things. My wife went on a world tour by herself for her solo career, so she was out and left me kind of home alone to go crazy by myself. I started making these panels to go up on the set. About halfway through, 2 months into this, I was like, you know what? I want to build a replica of the Millennium Falcon cockpit behind me while I'm doing this. So I'm jamming out in Star Wars space with these robots playing MIDI controllers. I ended up building hundreds of these panels. By the way, all this stuff is this is a flap of an Amazon box. This is silver Sharpie. These are Home Depot wall plates. These are washers that I got on eBay. These are thumbtacks pushed in a circle. It's little red vellum behind a washer that I painted black so I could shine a light behind it. It would look like an LED. And I ended up just literally making hundreds of these things to make it look like the Falcon. It took me 3 months. I was going to Home Depot every day, swiping my credit card another $100 every day. Ended up maxing out 2 credit cards, drained my savings account. But it actually came together and looked really cool. And I found this roboticist hobbyist from the UK and I flew him into the Bay to make this head that he programmed to just sing the lyrics to the song. The elevators worked. There was this 3D printed hexapod robot. This guy did all the inverse kinematics to get it to fist pump to the beat of the music. It was sick. It had a solenoid controller that descended from its abdomen and then played a MIDI controller. This was a MIDI controlled robot playing a MIDI controller. It was super fucking nerdy. By the end of this video, there was a whole lighting setup. There was a fog machine. It was insanity. The best thing I'd ever made in my life. I was so excited about this. But there was also this horrible realization I had at the end of this video. I'm gonna put this video on YouTube, it's gonna get 1 million views, and then, I'm gonna get $200 in AdSense. And I wrote this blog post called I'm Fucking Terrified. And I'll just read you a clip of the blog post so you kind of know where my head was at the time. This situation is foreign to me. Usually I'm careful. I'm a well-educated son of a doctor from the suburbs. I make good decisions. But the consistent weight of choices, the financial discretion, the same good sense that kept me afloat as an artist would keep me from making this video. After all, there's zero potential return on investment, right? So at the beginning of this process, I decided to bury my sculpted prudence in the backyard for a month. Maybe I'll dig it up when this video is finished, but right now it only stands between me and my fun little art project. That's what it feels like. I'm gluing frosty washers onto paper and cutting cardboard boxes and spray painting them silver. All the while, I'm watching my savings melt into nothing. I feel like a guilty child slotting quarter after quarter into a shiny arcade. That's what it felt like. It really did. I felt like I was making something cool, but at the same time, I felt like I shouldn't be doing that. And I also had this feeling there's more value here than is showing up. Pamplemousse, just a couple years before that, we did this Richmond book drive. I live in the East Bay, and we made an album. We put up a video. We said, hey, everybody, we have a new Pamplemousse album. You can't buy it. You actually can't buy our album. The only way to get our album is if you donate a book to the Richmond School District, send us the receipt, and we will send you the album for free. That's all you have to do. Donate a book to the Richmond School District. We will send you our album for free. Easy peasy. And the Richmond School District ended up having to rent a shipping container to keep up with the packages. It was 11,000 books that got sent to the school. It was something like $140,000 worth of books. And I look up from something like that. I feel like I'm helping people. I feel like I'm doing my job. I feel like I have economic value in the world. I feel like I'm doing the right things. And then I see this video and I think about it earning $200 online. And I just felt like there had to be a better way to build a community and a business around my work on the internet. So, at the risk of this whole thing sounding like a Patreon ad, I hope it doesn't feel like that. I sat down at my kitchen table and I sketched this out on 14 pieces of printer paper. It was like the first version of Patreon. I did it in 3 hours. It was hard for me to actually sketch it out because it felt so crazy to me to sketch out an idea for a web product. I'm not an engineer. I literally had to say, like, as I was writing it on paper, I was like, this isn't gonna work, that's okay. Like, I said that out loud, like, multiple times, just so that I felt okay putting pen to paper. And then that day, I called up my freshman year roommate in college. Look at that face. He got super excited about it. I sent him this email after I met with him. We both agree that our friendship and friendship in general is more valuable than money, profits, or any aspect of the business. We both agree to be open and communicative to facilitate a fun, healthy, and hardworking relationship. I thought it was like a really nice way to kick off a relationship. Sam sent this to me. Awesome, I agree to all this. Okay, let's do it. No contracts, no lawyers, no business plan, no strategy, just like an email to my college roomie, and then he starts building. I made a Google Doc to brainstorm names. I'm not gonna read some of these because they're too embarrassing. I checked my revision history in Google Docs and I found that I created this doc at 8:38 p.m. And then I found my GoDaddy receipt for patreon.com. And it was an hour and 9 minutes later at 9:47 p.m. So the total time for my brainstorm was an hour and 9 minutes. We did a 99 designs contest where people could submit graphic designs for Patreon. We got a whole bunch of options, and this is the one that we ended up going for. This was Sam at the time. He just started coding it right away. This is what I looked like at the time. I was 28. I made a spreadsheet of all the creators that I wanted to use this product. All of them said no. But we decided, okay, great, I'll just do it. I'll just launch on it. And within like 2 weeks of having this page, I was making 6 figures as a creative person. I like changed my music or strategy, didn't change anything. I was just like put up this page. Creators started launching, yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. We were getting so much inbound feature requests, like email tickets from fans. We raised a round so that we could start responding to email tickets and hire some people to help because we were so underwater. We got a 2-bedroom apartment in Noe Valley as our first office. This is a mirror, so like it's half that size. Like, it was an absolute mess. Like, it was so chaotic. We commissioned this artist to make poster drawings of some of the creators that were launching, and then we spent days like packing. I should have learned my lesson with Pomplamoose, but you know, we were all just like pitching in and like sending these posters to fans who were launching. Sam was the only engineer and like literally like coding from bed because like he was trying to build so many things and like respond to people. You know, this is a real Paseo shot here. Yeah, just like, man, like, this is actually how I think about Sam. He would literally like wake up for an hour, write code, and then like fall back asleep for like 20 minutes, and then like wake up and write again for like 3 years. It was so insane. We'd like stay up to like 10 or 11 at night, just like answering all of the email tickets that were coming inbound. This is one of my favorite shots ever because if you just zoom in, you can see how absolutely crazy it was. That's Tyler's calendar. Then we're sort of growing faster than we could handle. We signed our Series A term sheet at a Lindsey Sterling concert. We moved into a bigger office. At this point, we're like up to 12 employees. This office held 75 people. I was like, we'll never fill it. Like, we'll never fill it. That's insane. Within like a year, we're at 50 people and then 70 people, and then we had to move out of the office. Then we had to build a new office. Then we hired more people and more people and more people. And now, 11 years in, Patreon sent $7 billion to creators since the founding of the company. Yeah, one of the most rewarding and weird like changes in like my life that I just did not expect to happen, like totally out of left field, but also just like one of the most fun and interesting and odd and cool things I've ever done in my life. So this is a good time to make one last introduction before we close here. I want to give it up for the entire Creator Camp team right now. Guys, it's fucking crazy that we're in the mountains of Switzerland right now. That's crazy. And we're here because of the Creator Camp team. You guys have an energy and ambition and resilience that is inspiring everyone you get close to. Your attention to detail is, at times, shocking. You sent us suitcases with printed newspapers and custom hoodies. You say everything should feel like a handwritten note, and it freaking does. Everything does. You put on better events than the best events companies in the world. You have more soul than the strongest and highest executing corporate shops who are trying to do this. You allow yourselves the joy of having unlimited dreams. You know what good looks like. You act on your intuition. You stay true despite all of the pressure. You guys are rare, and you're building something important. One more time for the Creator Camp team. So I'm actually a very happy person in my life. I really am. I feel good like most of the time. I have this thing where I just feel super compelled to just go endlessly on things that I really care about. I just go endlessly. I slept from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. last night because I was finishing this fucking presentation. I can't stop myself. Like, I max out to my limits, and all of these feelings that I had in my 20s, despite the way I told this story, all of those feelings, the overwhelm, the lack of confidence, the struggle with trying to find my own truth from within versus looking externally, I still have all of that. It's really important to me that I don't stand up here and make it seem like I've resolved all of this shit, because I have not. I still feel lost. Today, every week, often, I still doubt myself, often. I still wonder if I'm good enough. I still cringe at the bad decisions I make. I question my own judgment. Those feelings, at least for me, have not gone away. A couple of weeks ago, I turned 40, and I'm beginning to think those feelings will just never go away, because it's just part of being a human. And I'm not actually sad about that. I'm relieved. I don't think there's any success, any amount of money, any number of subscribers, any view count, any accolades, nothing that will make those feelings disappear. What a relief to know that there is nothing better out there. This is it. There's no other place that I can get to. There's nothing other than right now. There's nothing other than the joy of making something in the present moment and being with other people that you love. So I'm gonna leave you with this. You guys, you are the future of the internet. You are the future of art and creation. You can do anything you want, and I mean anything. Don't let people tell you what to do or who to be. Don't let your mind be controlled by the invisible systems around you. Ask yourself what you want often and go deep on that. And ask yourself what you're willing to give up for it. Your work can be what you want. The internet can be what you want. Your life can be what you want. So what matters to you? What do you want to say? And how do you want to say it? Go do that, and don't let anyone stop you. And that is advice you don't need because you're already doing it. Thank you, everybody.